bit of history about the Eicher Motors, what kind of subsidiaries it is having, what kind of percentage shares in each subsidiary the Eicher Motor is having. Then we will move on to looking into the key matrices of Eicher Motors from last 5 to 10 years. And when we say key matrices, we'll go through the growth from the revenue perspective, sales perspective, ROE, ROCE, and EPS, and also the share prices. And then finally, we'll talk about what are the recommendations that we see for this specific company. Okay, any question? No. Okay, so Venkat, please go ahead and you can start up.
Yeah. Can you move the no, to the first page? Who is presenting? Is it Nimit you are presenting? Yeah, okay.
Yes, I am sharing the screen.
Okay, right. To start with, yes, Eicher Motors. Actually, it's founded in 1948 by Vikram Lal, a businessman, and basically it started as a distributor, means import tractor distributor and service purpose. The company started in 1948, and in 1959, no, there is a German tractor manufacturer Eicher. They joined and they started manufacturing tractors. But in 1965, it's completely become an Indian-owned company. Okay, and in it was an Eicher Tractor Corporation of India Private Limited. Okay, but in 1982, the current Eicher Motors Limited, was created, and the same year, they had a joint, collaboration agreement with Mitsubishi, and they started manufacturing and selling Eicher Mitsubishi branded trucks. In 1982. But in 2005, they sold Eicher Tractors business, Eicher Tractor and Engine Division to TAFE, which is in Chennai. TAFE also another tractor manufacturing company. Okay, and 2008. The truck manufacturing company, the Eicher Mitsubishi branded truck, no, that actually they stopped the collaboration with Mitsubishi, and in 2008. They have a joint venture with Volvo. They started having a discussion, and in 2008 it's finalized, and they started operation of 50-50 JV between AB Volvo Sweden and Eicher Motors. Okay, and for Eicher Motors, yes, there are two main companies. One, Royal Enfield. That they are owning 100%. Eicher Motors owns it. There is no role for Volvo in that. And VE Commercial Vehicles. It started as a 50-50 joint venture, but recently it's become 45.6 for Volvo and 54.4. That means the most stake for Eicher in this VE. It's called the Volvo Eicher Commercial Vehicles Limited. So these are two important companies or major companies under Eicher Motors. So 100% in Royal Enfield and 54.4 in VE Commercial Vehicles Limited. Okay, so under Royal Enfield, there are some other subsidiaries owned 100% by Royal Enfield, like Royal Enfield North America, Royal Enfield Brazil, and Royal Enfield Thailand. Under VECV, they have another company called Eicher Components and Engineering Design, Eicher Engineering Components and Engineering Design Services, and another one company called Powertrain. Okay, it means VE Powertrain. So these two comes under Volvo Eicher Commercial Vehicles. If we talk a little bit more in detail about VECV, Volvo Eicher Commercial Vehicles, yes. So their main activity is design, manufacture, and sale of trucks and buses from 4.9 to 55-ton range, and under the brand of Eicher. And they're operating since 2018, and they have their own engine manufacturing plant. Here, I want to say there are two different type of engine manufacturing. One for Eicher brand, and under VE Powertrain, they have only Volvo engines they're manufacturing, and for their global requirements for 5 and 8 liter, they are manufacturing and exporting to globally. And recently, okay, and also it's now Volvo Buses India. It's part of VECV now. Right, and small information about sales volume. Yes, roughly 50,000 vehicles they are selling every year, 50 to 60,000. But since it's a 2019 and 20 financial year, the first quarter of 2020 is or the last quarter of 2019 and 20 financial affected due to COVID. So there was a drop in sales. But for their category 4.9 to 55 ton range, so they hold close to 30% of market share. So if you look at others, are Ashok Leyland and Tata Motors and Bharat Benz are the competitors. If you talk a little bit about Royal Enfield, yes, they got a 3 manufacturing locations. That is in south part of India, that is in Chennai, and they got a 2 R&D centers. One is in Chennai and another is in UK. And roughly they are selling 7 lakh volume 7 lakh two wheelers they sold in 2019 and 20 financial year. And yes, in this segment they hold a 96% of market share. So that the 350 to 500 cc, that's their major share. Yeah. Yes, and it's very important to talk about ownership. So here, for Eicher Motors, Chandelier is the chairman, but okay, the main driver is Siddharth Lal. He is the son of Vikram Lal, and he joined the company at the age of uh, 25, and then he became CEO at the age of 26 for Royal Enfield. He started as a joined the group in 1999. With Eicher, but he became as a main role as a CEO of Royal Enfield in 2000 at the age of 26. And then he became Chief Operating Officer of Eicher Motors in 2004, and he became CEO and MD of Eicher Motors for the group in 2006. And he is the person was instrumental to get the JV done between Eicher Motors and Volvo. So he really, is around, 30 years. Yeah, when he, or no, what, how much it? It's 34 when he, finished the deal with Volvo. So, and he's known for turnaround of Royal Enfield. Yeah, and now, and
Yeah,
this
so just
is
one thing I would like to add over here. Thanks, Venkat, for that. So, the MD Siddharth Lal, who was known for the turnaround of the Royal Enfield, and he is being the group CEO as well as the MD of the Royal Enfield since 20 years now. And the success story says itself. And this guy is still with the Eicher Motor, which is a positive sign for this company because he already has a success story and he can sail through this organization in the tough times as well, which he has already done, and he has showcased that kind of success story. So that's good part from Eicher Motors perspective.
yeah, and it was making sort of loss Royal Enfield before he took over. But he completely changed it, and now really they are making a good money from Royal Enfield. Yeah.
So just one thing. So do you want me to ask questions here or at the end?
So you can
Yeah,
ask questions.
ask, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. See, I'm just going to throw in a new perspective here, okay? I'm not denying what Siddharth Lal might or might not have done. But when you say that he turned around the company in 2000 or after taking over in 2000, but look at how India has changed from 2000 to 2020. We were a socialist economy till 1990. People hardly had money. The society was based much on barter system, right? So it was not that we were not trading. We were trading with Ukraine and a lot of the West Russian satellite states or the USSR in a different form, right? So money was not the main medium of currency, and definitely the Western philosophy of having the most amount of material goods was not the objective of life. So any commercial enterprise which deals with consumer goods in India especially has grown manifold, be it Royal Enfield, which is in the 350cc category, or just look at Hero Honda's number, na? Pull that up as well. You will see there also 500% growth or whatever X number growth. So if we were to pull the data of Royal Enfield and it sold maybe 10,000 vehicles in 2000, in 2020 it's probably sold 6 lakhs, which is 60 times. It will be the same for Hero Honda or most of the companies in that space. So it's not market beating. The only thing is they were one of the few in that category, and they have continued to be, because that's a higher barrier to entry, you can say. Okay? Just a different perspective.
Yeah, no, that's correct. I mean, industry as a whole was growing, and that's why the player in the industry also grew along with. So that's given. I totally agree with that, Nishant. But yeah, I mean, from the perspective of we were talking from the perspective of the leadership of the company, and this is having a stable leadership since last 20-25 years. So that was the whole point, of the argument, let's say.
Again, no stable leadership, right? If it's company owned by a family, generally they don't change, right? So there are again hundreds of companies in India like that, which are family owned and run by the family. So instead of a positive, it can also be a negative.
Yeah, but that's what you're seeing, that let's say for Reliance, right? It was also a family-owned company, and then it was split between two brothers. One brother is growing like anything, and then one brother got bankrupt, right? So similarly, that can happen to any. Talk about Birlas, right? They also were the family-owned business, and they were booming like anything. But see today, right? They are nowhere.
No,
So
no, they
that's
are everywhere. They are everywhere. So
I
Ambani,
mean,
yes,
not.
there is an exception, but Birlas have a lot of private owned enterprises. So most of them are not listed. So they make enough money. See, not everyone is as motivated as a Mukesh, right? Not everybody wants to be on the billionaire list. Not everybody wants to be an Elon Musk. Not everybody wants to be a Warren Buffett. Not everybody wants to be Jeff Bezos, right? People have different perspectives in life.
So I would like to hello everyone. This is Akash. So I would like to connect the dots here. So one thing about Reliance Industries which you're talking. So just a small brief about Mukesh Ambani. He is a chemical engineer, petrochemical engineer from UI City, which is one of the most prestigious universities from India into chemical engineering. And then he entered into petrochemical business. Similarly, talking about Siddharth Lal, he has completed, of course, because of like good family background, he was maybe able to afford having education abroad that time. But he has completed automobile engineering from Cranfield University, and after that, he has done masters in specifically in like automotive design engineering in like Leeds University in UK. So he was already like a passionate in like he was very passionate about this technical field or like that. Of course,
Automotive field.
there is a reason that there is a we can say that it has come like a family business to him, but he has shown like a leadership quality, and he has been passionate about it, and not just talking about it. Like after when he took up the business in 2006 as a COO, a CEO part, this thing as an MD, he has brought at that point of time Eicher Motors was dealing with 15 different group of businesses. He decided to stop 13 group of businesses and come down to just two businesses, which was one was this collab with VE, and one was this Royal Enfield. So he had basically, it was a big risk at that point of time to like close down, like they have even closed their tractor business which was started by his grandfather. So it was a big decision at the age of 34 to take, to bring down such a to basically find their niche. They were trying to find their niche product, and for me, I think it's a very good leadership quality that he had focused on motorcycles, and in that also he focused that we should have premium quality motorcycles in 250 above cc engine. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, fair
Yeah,
enough.
that's good. Yeah, Akash. Yeah, that's very good input. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Then,
Any further questions before we move ahead?
Yeah.
No? Okay, so let's move ahead, Binkan.
yeah. Okay. I'll only complete this new developments, and then you can take over on the other things. Yes. Okay. I like to update with some new developments with respect to Eicher Motors. So in August, this month, VCV acquired Volvo Buses India. It was owned 100% by Volvo Sweden, and now VCV acquired this Volvo Buses business completely. They got a plant and a complete network in Bangalore, and so that is taken over by VCV, and now they will make a new bus division under Eicher. So they will make so they can have a lot of synergies if they have same bus manufacturing but in a different brand. And the next is yes, they also got a new plant in Bhopal for this year, and they are the first company to introduce BS, some Bharat Stage 6 vehicles in India, and they were ready before all other competitors. Okay.
Great. Yeah, this is a small chart, displaying the shareholding patterns as of 31st March 2020 for the Eicher Motors. So promoter, which is promoter group, is holding approximately 50% of the shares. Then foreign institutional investors another 27.7%. DII is another 11%, and then the rest of retail is 11.89%.
Nimit, can you just increase
Can
the
you
size?
increase the size? Yeah, please.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, go up, increase it a little more. It's at 130, make it 160 or something. Yeah, now it's good. Now I have a question, okay? Not for the team per se. This is for everyone. Does everyone understand this? Like, who's the promoter group? Who are the foreign institutional investors? Who are the domestic institutional investors? And who are the others? Does everyone understand? And can you give me examples?
No, Nishant, I know some of it, but not everything. Like promoter group is something which the company, like the CEOs or the actual owners of the company who started or the founders. Then foreign institutional investor might be someone who is investing from foreign, like
Yeah,
any.
Tushar, before you go on to the answers, question was, again, I'll repeat. Does everyone understand all the four? Is there anyone who has doubts?
Yeah, I understand.
I like to understand about only foreign institutional investors. Like I know it's Indian mutual companies are comes under domestic institutional investors.
No, one by one. So you have doubts. Tushar has doubts, right? Anyone else?
Yeah.
Rest are all clear.
No, I have doubts also. Akash.
Okay. Who else has doubts? Because whoever doesn't have doubts, then I'm going to ask you to explain. Okay. Fine. So Ashrar, can you tell me who's the promoter group?
From what I understand from the previous classes, the promoter group is usually the group that supported the initial investments, or they initially invested in the company.
Yes.
Who are founders?
So
I'm not sure
Yes,
if they're the
correct.
founders per se, but yeah, they're the initial
primarily
investors.
primarily the founders. Yes. So is it clear for everyone? Questions on that? So which means in simple terms, say this company was started in 1947 or something, right? Where they showed, I don't remember the exact date. Say initially the company needed an equity share capital of 10 lakhs, hypothetically. The promoter, whoever put in 7 lakhs out of 10 became 70% owner. Or actually, whoever put in that 10 lakhs initially became the 100% owner. Now, from that time till today, they still own 50%. So they have only divested 50% of their share to other investors. Rest 50% they continue to hold for almost 70 years. Make sense?
Yeah.
Everyone clear?
Yes.
Okay. Now the next one is foreign institutional investor. So Srihari, can you explain that one?
Yeah, foreign institutional investor are investors who are not from the local country. They are investing in that country through foreign from foreign. So that's what on a high level I know. And I read about there are types of investors. This comes under types of investor. One is RII, retail investor, retail individual investor, FFI, foreign international institutional investor, and DII, domestic institutional investors.
Correct. So that is the question. Who are these FII?
It's more like foreign institutes, like any from Germany, Deutsche Bank can decide that they want to invest in this company. So any institution from foreign.
Very good example. So that is what I was looking for. So is this clear for everyone? So basically any company which is not based in India, institutional means it has to be a company which is not based in India has invested in this company. So for example, it could be Deutsche Bank Germany, okay, because it could have an Indian entity as well. Then it will become a domestic institutional investor. Very important. So this is a foreign company which is registered in foreign, okay. So basically it could be Deutsche Bank Germany, it could be Volvo Sweden, it could be Goldman Sachs, it could be JP Morgan, it could be BlackRock, it could be Fidelity, it could be Vanguard, it could be any of those people. It could be CalPERS, California Public and Employment Retirement System. Okay, CalPERS is in it. It could be NBIM, which is the Norway's sovereign wealth fund. So any of those which have stake in Eicher Motors will be known as foreign institutional investor. Is this clear for everyone?
Nishant here, Siddharth Lal, the MD, he is not a Indian citizen, he is a British
Your voice is
citizen.
breaking up. Is it only for me or for everyone?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, better.
Okay. See, here Siddharth Lal, the MD, is not an Indian citizen. Okay, he is a British citizen. Okay, is there any chance that he might have invested since by using his British citizenship through this, or he should own a company if he want to invest from this route, right?
No, he could have done it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't have the details.
Okay.
So he could have registered a company in Sweden, Switzerland, anywhere, and invested through that.
Okay.
So just a question, when we said that there was a JV between Eicher and Volvo, so this foreign institutional investor is the Volvo essentially, is it?
I don't know how
So
much Eicher, how much Volvo actually owns in the combined entity, because the JV is only for the commercial vehicle. So I don't know, but it could be. It will probably be one of them.
Okay.
We can pull the list. If we have some other subscription, we can actually get the details. Which are those foreign institutional investors? So like Fidelity owns 5%, Vanguard owns 3%. That can come.
But Nishant here, then like what would be the difference? For example, if Volvo is Volvo already has a share, then would it be a foreign institutional investor or would it be a foreign direct investment from Volvo in the company?
No, it will be a foreign institutional investment because it's a listed company, but then it can come with conditions. So let's not get into FDI today. So focus on this. So that's.
But I can answer since I just seen this. Deepthi was right actually. No, yes, Volvo no had shares in both. Yes, on the separate company, there is a separate company called Volvo Eicher Commercial Vehicles. There, Volvo had a 50% direct investment. But on the also they were holding shares, Eicher shares in Eicher Motors. Eicher Motors is the parent company that invested 50% in Volvo Eicher commercial vehicles. So Volvo, yes, when they invest 50% in Volvo Eicher commercial vehicles, they also invested on this FI route on through to Eicher Motors.
Okay. Can we move on? Deepthi, your question is answered?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So the third one, domestic institutional investors. Okay. Som, can you explain to me what is DII? Or to everyone rather? Som? Okay, Srihari, go ahead.
Yes, Nishant. Yeah. Domestic institutional investor, does it means the banks?
Just the banks?
And venture capital funds.
Okay, and? So basically any company registered in India.
And also the LIC companies like LIC.
Any company registered in India, right? So for example, Infosys bought 1% of Eicher Motors. That would be one of the DIIs. So total is 11%, right? So which means out of 100 shares of Eicher Motors, 11 is owned by domestic institutional investor. say out of that 11, one is owned by Infosys, one by TCS, one by Tata Motors, one by who else? Reliance, whoever. Okay, so anyone can buy.
Also the LIC, which does keep buying everywhere.
Yeah, LIC obviously. LIC is a very big DII in India. Okay.
I think I just want to ask here. So is it like the capital which has been collected through the mutual funds they will also invest right here?
Yes, of course. So HDFC Mutual Fund, they are all DIIs. Mutual funds, banks. Any company registered in India which has bought shares of Eicher Motors becomes a DII. Simple.
But Volvo Group is owned by Chinese consortium, right now.
No, wait, where you are going? First, we are on DII. Why China comes into every discussion?
Okay, sorry. Okay.
So can we come to know the data like certain mutual fund company has been invested here?
Yes. Go to so that is where I told, right? Some of these may not be available freely. You may have to take a premium subscription. But on Moneycontrol, so just type on Google, see if you are able to pull it. Detailed list of shareholders for shareholding pattern for Eicher Motors in detail. So you should actually get each person who owns how much. So it should show you how much Siddharth Lal owns. So say 100 crore shares, 20 crore is owned by Siddharth Lal himself. So that is 20%. 5 crore might be owned by his wife, 5 crore by his son. I don't know. You should be able to pull at that level. Each individual, how much they own. Especially the big ones. Okay.
Sorry, where do you pull this data again?
You should either be able to pull it from Google or from some subscription like Screener. If you take a subscription, you will definitely get that.
No, but in the Eicher Motor,
sorry,
in the Eicher Motor balance sheets or financial statements itself, it is not nowhere listed, is it? I mean, institutional investors at least.
It should be there in their annual reports or in other filings with SEBI. So we'll have to pull that out.
Okay.
I could download. No, they have a shareholding pattern available in their website. Yes, on 30 June 2020. Shareholding pattern is on 30th June 2020.
Can you share that in detail? Is it?
Yeah,
detailed?
it's there in detail. Yes.
Okay, show it. Share it.
I can share my screen.
Nimit, you'll have to stop sharing.
Are you seeing my screen?
Yeah, just load it up. Yeah, make it big.
Okay.
Go down. Down.
Okay, I'll go down. Okay, right. Okay. So, yeah.
Yeah, so here, no, it's again promoter group and all, right? Not individual level.
It is there in the second page or something. I could see. Yeah. Here, no? Yes. Here it's there, Vikram Lal.
Yeah. So here it is.
Here also they mentioned from Indian. Okay. What is the percentage of their share or information, and also the foreign investment details also there in the second page.
So if you go up, see here there is an interesting thing. Go up. So they don't own it as individuals. It's there in your HUF. So these are another anomalies of Indian laws. These are all remnants of the British society. So the point I'm trying to highlight here is for 73 years, we have not been able to amend our laws. So if you see the line, first one, Hindu undivided family. This was made by the British. This is a British era law. And we are still sticking to this. Okay, move on. These are the problems that we have not been able to fix.
That means government will not be able to collect the complete tax, right? If you mention this as that means there is a.
There are many loopholes. I don't want to get into the details now, but yeah, all I'm trying to show is the jokes allowed in India still.
Yeah.
We haven't made any proper civil code or any other code. And by the way,
So-
any shareholding fraud in India is not a criminal offense. In US, it is a criminal offense. So here you can do fraud and it is just a civil offense. So go ahead.
So here, if you look at under second, he mentioned foreign investments. Here individuals, okay, and also they see Siddharth Vikremlal invested as a foreign citizen. Yeah.
Okay. But this is again not talking about the institutions, right? This is only talking about the promoter group, I'm assuming.
It's,
Anyways,
if
you can share
institutions
this
coming
link.
here,
You can share this link. Okay.
okay,
It's interesting.
I'll
Yeah.
stop.
So you can stop and go back to the presentation.
I stopped. Yes.
I think on this page, okay.
Yeah, Nimit, you can share again, please.
Yeah, I'm sharing. Okay.
Yeah, but really nice till now. So we covered DII. So what is the last one? Others. Som, can you explain what are the others?
Others is the normal shareholders.
All are normal only, na?
I mean the taxpayers.
All are taxpayers.
The normal retail investors.
Just retail. So all your HNI, UHNI, everyone will come under others. So anyone who has invested in a individual capacity. So I could be a very rich guy and I have bought 1 crore shares. I could be a very normal guy, poor, whatever you want to call. I bought 1 share. All of these are clubbed under others.
But the percentage is very less, right? Only 11%.
That's quite high, yeah. In India, as I keep saying, right, less than 1% buy shares. See, people invest in Royal Enfield. See, if somebody bought Enfield shares or Royal Enfield in 2000, Royal Enfield bought at 5 lakhs. Today it is worth 1 lakh also, not even 1 lakh. 5 lakh Royal Enfield shares bought for 5 lakhs. Today it will be worth 5 crores. But people don't understand that, na?
True, but if you see the other countries like Europe or US, like 70-80% will be by the retail investors.
No. From where you are getting all this dabba data?
No, if you look in the app, it will say some companies like they tell us taxpayers. They will not tell who are it. And
all are taxpayers, yeah. But 80% of world, nowhere in the world, retail people own.
No, like
more than 50% of the wealth of the world is owned by 15 people, man. What are you saying?
True, very true. But what I mean is they don't bifurcate like this. If you see, like I use some German apps, they say 80% taxpayer, then 10% BlackRock, and 10% other Vanguard or something like
Yeah,
that.
so then 80% taxpayer means they are just saying local. So who are German taxpayers? Maybe they are bifurcating like that. But out of that 80%, most of them will be mutual funds. So I don't know whether Germany is a mutual fund market or not. I don't know so much about Germany.
Okay.
But say just pull Apple data. You will see Apple will be owned by 10% by Vanguard. So Vanguard will have some 30 different funds. So each of the fund will be owning 1% of Apple. That is how it will be. Fidelity will own another 10%. BlackRock will own another 10%. It's all institutional everywhere. Because in the US also people invest in the stock markets. Most of them indirectly. Only now there is the Robin Hood effect, right? And plus the Corona times, people have no other work, so everybody thought I will make side income from trading, which will end badly for most of them. Right.
So, Nishan, sorry to
when I checked in the app, actually here in the German app,
just pull Apple data, na? Just pull Apple data. Okay. You pull Apple data, I will show you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I shared the Eicher Motors shareholding pattern in the chat.
Yeah, Vaibhav had a question.
Yeah, it just got off my mind. Sorry, I'll just have to rethink.
Fine. So you guys
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
How does it impact, like if let us say promoter group has more than 50% of holding, how does it impact the investors? Like I assume that if let us say there is a lot of shareholding by the promoter group, a lot of power lies in their hands. Like if let us say they share like 1 or 2% of their holdings, then it drastically affects the price of the share, right? So how should investor or the retail investor should be careful?
Yeah, so it's a very valid question. So that is where these guys have started in the right way, right? So shareholding pattern matters. Like you said, if say I as a shareholder, first of all, SEBI made some rules regarding this. So let me give you the brief history. I have discussed this 3-4 times. Does somebody else want to go? Because I have discussed this 3-4 times. Talk about how it is on this topic. Guys, it will be good revision. We have discussed this 3 to 4 times. Okay. Okay, so nobody is going, so I will explain. So basically, in the last 25 years or so, when India started opening up, earlier there was no restriction on shareholding pattern, and promoters used to own 90 to 95% of the company. And this was not going very well because, as you rightly mentioned, first of all, anyone who owns more than 51% of the shares has the control, which promoters anyways don't like to give up. But at 90%, they are basically dictating, and they had absolutely no checks and balances. So the promoter could give himself a salary of 30 crores and pay his employees nothing. Nobody could question. All of that was happening. So SEBI came up with some rules saying that for any listed company in India, either before listing or on the day of listing during the IPO, or within a set time frame, say 1 or 2 years after the IPO, the promoters cannot hold more than 75%. Having said that, even at 75%, the promoters have a very high control. So like you mentioned, if I'm a retail investor and I do not trust the promoter and the promoter has 70% shareholding, I should not buy that company.
Okay.
Clear?
Yeah.
And that is why trust in promoters becomes crucial. So for example, today, if you look at Reliance, it is primarily running on the name of Mukesh Ambani. As Nimit keeps saying, if his next generation doesn't show the same mettle, and if Mukesh makes the same mistake as his father of not having a proper legacy in place, then it can end badly. Having said that, what was visible from the Geo AGM, which I saw in video, Isha looks to be really smart, and probably he will have to ensure that he gives her at least one company to run clearly. So maybe Geo, or he has also started a fashion brand, right? Just like Mintra, I don't know what it is called. So maybe he will give her that and then list it separately, and then he can give his, I don't know how many, he has 3 kids, I believe. Give the other 2 something else and do it before he is on his deathbed. It will be better, because if he does like his father, let the children decide, it may end up in another mess.
Okay, so but coming back to the law, SEBI says 75%. Is it, Nishant? Promoters can hold until.
Yeah, only till the specified time. So I would suggest 2 case studies and let's pick it up. So who wants to volunteer? I will give the names of the companies. Let's do these as case studies for promoter shareholding. One is Bandhan Bank, one is Kotak Mahindra Bank. Who will volunteer to do this case study? Okay, no one. So let's move on. So these are the 2 case studies. But yes, 75% is what SEBI says.
Okay, I think we are only left up with 17 more minutes, so I think we have to a little bit rush on in order to complete this up. Otherwise,
No. Don't rush, Nimit. Take your time. See, anyways, it's difficult to get volunteers, right? So
Okay,
take your time and we will do a proper job of it.
sure.
So even if it
Okay.
takes 2 classes, the others can present next month, right? They will have a lot of time to prepare. People who were complaining not enough time to prepare.
Okay. So yeah, that was the shareholding pattern which was standing as of 31st of March 2020. On a high level,
So just one second. All the questions got answered. Tushar, somebody else also had a question.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yes. Sorry, Nimit, go on.
Sure. So as Venkat mentioned that the Eicher Motor has primarily the 2 subsidiaries. One is their VECV vertical and another one is the Royal Enfield. And within Royal Enfield, there are many other different entities like Royal Enfield North America, Thailand, Brazil. This one is for Brazil, and then they have it in UK and Canada as well. So all these are 100% subsidiaries of the Eicher Motor Limited. So primarily they are into the motorcycle business and the commercial businesses like trucks and buses, specifically after getting into the joint venture with the Volvo Trucks. Now coming on to the key matrices, and Akash, would you like to pitch in over here?
Yes. So this key metrics data I had pulled out from the balance sheets, like financial documents of which is present on their website. It is available for last 10 years. Taken it out for last 5 years. So lately I was listening, like there was a lot of this thing, like I was because of this research, and also I saw a lot of videos of like popping up on my YouTube about Eicher Motors, maybe because the stock is right now low because of the COVID situation. So it was looking very interesting for me, and that was the basic reason actually why we took up this company after dropping Ericsson. So the data which I took was first I compared the total income, the total revenue which they had generated from 2016 to 2020. This is March every year, March of every year, which I have taken the data, and the value of total income is in crores. So if you can just go down a little bit, yeah, so we can see the chart. But in the chart, the first chart which shows the revenue stats, we can see that the stats, like overall the stats of revenue are going on increasing till the 2019 and 2020. In all the financial reports, there is they have put a point, like a very precise bullet point, that due to COVID reason that there are been like the factories are been stopped since like March beginning and all. So there has been a drop in the sales. So they have given a reason, like related to all the stats related to 2020. They have given this as a reason, which I don't find very convincing, because for March 2020, that is financial year 2019-20, that should not have been the case. For 2020-21, if they would have said that, I think it was more logical. But let's give the benefit of doubt here to Eicher Motors, and I agree. It was still showing like the green line which you can see on the first chart. That is showing like a upward trend, that the revenues are increasing every year.
No, Akash. So that needs to be dig more. You have a very valid point, because the lockdown only started in India on March 24. So it should not have impacted their quarter or the year ending March 31st, 2020.
So that's what I said. So in all their financial documents, they have put like in the note which they put in the down, they have put like due to COVID reasons, there has been drop in the sales and drop in this. So they have given this as a reason, like everywhere, like they are justifying like that. Even in the annual report of last year, like 2019-20, which was released like March 20, there are a lot of places where they have pulled up the topic of COVID, and they said that, or maybe they are giving a indication to the investors that maybe in the next quarter also the like the sales will not be very good, and like there can be this thing. So they were maybe like preempting in advance, and like indicating to the investors, so that they will be little bit like cautious, that it will not
no, the numbers don't make sense, right? So just look at here. 2019 he had 9,800 crores. Even if I take one bad month, 11 months, where is the growth? And if you see the CAGR, I don't know what CAGR you have pulled. Is it the income CAGR, expense CAGR? What is this CAGR?
I have taken it CAGR for income. Yes, this one is for income.
Income CAGR for what? For last?
According to the previous year, with respect to previous.
When you say revenue, then change the first one, then make it total revenue, first column.
Yeah, total revenue.
So when you say 55% based on previous year, or what? Put it in bracket. It is year on year, or is it CAGR?
It's year on year, but okay. So
in 2016.
That's the revenue growth.
You put YOY in bracket. So basically in 2015 it was 4,000 crores, and in 2016 it was 6,000 crores. So 55%. So if you see consistently the numbers are going down. 55 say 28, 28 say 16, 16 say 6. Now minus. So this company is going down.
So I'll come to that.
The graph is like this.
So Nishant, just hold on your horses. Akash will come down to that.
Fine. Okay.
So I understand वो numbers देख के it is very exciting to say
No,
that
where
it
is
is
the
not.
expense growth? सबका दिखाओ ना फिर. So revenue का दिखा रहे हो.
Expense
Where is
का
the
I just have a tiny question. Is it good enough to just consider 5 years data, or is it the standard way to do it? Like, can we not have
We'll
10 years
we'll
data?
come
Like, which one
come
would
on
be
to
better
yeah
in
we'll come
general,
on to
like not
10 years
just for
data.
Eicher Motors, in general?
20 years data is what is recommended.
Okay.
So Warren Buffett says anytime I invest in a company, I read 20 years annual reports. To read one annual report, it will take 100 hours. So you should invest 2,000 hours.
But guys, also we have to keep in mind that some of the technology breakthroughs or the areas that they're entering might have not been might have not evolved as much as we would like to study over a period of last 5 years, right? So if you take any of the recent cloud-based technologies, you wouldn't find this data in earlier uh, earnings or reports. So I think it depends on the business vertical that you want to analyze of a particular company. That would be my take.
Correct. So Vivek, again, value investing versus growth investing, right? So it is the standard, right? So the theory I just answered to Tushar, let's put the caveat, it is applicable for value investing, which is going more and more out of fashion these days. But it is for value investing. Obviously, you cannot value a Tesla over 20 years. Okay, but I still believe Tesla is overvalued by a large margin.
No, but in that case, then we have to look into also industrial this thing, right? If like for example, we are talking about cloud-based thing or anything like that coming up. So in that case, for me, we have to not just compare Tesla 5 years back and 5 years today. We have to compare it with a competitor, maybe Neo or I don't know any other competitor of
Tesla
Tesla.
has zero competitor, right? That is the problem. Whom do you compare?
For the
And see, even for cloud, right? See, these are all projections, right? People are saying that for AWS and all, the growth will be 50% per annum. Who knows? Will the cloud market grow 50%, 60%, 30%? Oracle can be a competitor, IBM can be a competitor, Azure can be a competitor. So there are a lot of things, right, which can happen, not happen over the next few years. But anyways, that's this to be discussed if somebody has picked up Amazon, right? So we will discuss in that. Focus on each other now.
So
anyways,
yes.
I will end the call at sharp 4:30 today. Okay, I have some other engagement. So if it is not completed, and it will not be, as I said, take your time. This will be continued tomorrow. Okay. Anyways, a lot of people are now also pinging me saying they will not be ready for tomorrow. So let people take their time. So this will take more time. So yeah, sorry Akash, go on.
Yeah, so we have done year so year on year I had not done for expenses. I thought it was not very important to put it on expenses, but we were trying to the expense, like how much they had spent on expenditure, but sadly I was not able.
It is very important. I will explain why. See, if you see, my revenue has grown over 2015 to 2016 at 55%. Did my expense also grow 55%? Did my expense grow more than 55%? Did my expense grow less than 55%? So it is extremely important actually. So to give the year on year growth for expense, also for ROE. So ROE number is also changing every year. So it's actually going in minus if you see in this graph. So you should put it for everything.
Okay. Okay, so I will maybe add it later on. So
yeah,
for
so
the
you
moment,
can add those. So tomorrow we can discuss.
Yeah. So yes.
Yeah, I said go ahead for now.
Yeah. So we saw what I saw that the CAGR for the revenue stats was showing a downward trend, and similarly when we saw even for the net income, yeah.
Can I interrupt you for a moment here, Akash? Sorry for that. But Nishant, no, what I'm not able to understand is that how is that the shareholders' equity has been increasing like incrementally in the data that is present here.
So Akash, you need to first close that side pocket ना, उसको close कर दे. वो screen को खराब कर रहा है. वो Skype का. उसको close कर दे, वो close कर दे, वो Skype close नहीं होगा. ऊपर जा.
अरे वो मेरे को बार-बार म्यूट करना पड़ता है, इसलिए मैंने रखा. दिस इज लिमिट.
अच्छा, okay. And just increase the size a little bit. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, go ahead. What is your question, Vaibhav?
Yeah, my question is that the shareholders' equity has been increasing incrementally. I'm not able to make any correlation with the numbers here.
Yeah, so what he has done is he has pulled the retained earnings number, or I don't know from where he has pulled, because I don't think so. Were they doing QIP every year? Because how is this increasing? Yeah, even I have the same question. So I need to pull up their balance sheet. So Akash, this needs an explanation. Shareholder equity. From where you got this data?
From their balance sheet. So I will just share my screen. You can tell me if I was wrong in that.
But really good presentation, guys. Excellent work, and really happy that at least you guys put in the effort. And guys, going forward, this will only work if everyone puts in the effort. Okay. If this is a value investing class, you don't want a 4-member group, you want a 2-member team. Put it in teams of 2, but everyone has to present. Because we have been doing this for 4 months and many of you have not presented even once. So everyone has to present. Pick a company that you like. It can be listed anywhere in the world. It can be unlisted also if you can find the data.
Okay, so for example, this is one of their balance sheets.
Make it
So
big.
the
I can't see.
can't see it. Can you see it now?
Full screen. Make it full screen. No? Much better. Yeah.
Okay, so okay, so these were the values which I had taken. So this is my Excel sheet. So over here, this also I will increase. Just a moment.
No, I'm just looking at shareholder equity. Row 8.
Shareholder equity. I took that value from here.
So see, that is what that is the mistake you have done, right? So you have taken that total shareholder equity. So if you see the equity share capital 27.3 crore, that will be constant. This 8248 is your retained earnings. So every year, whatever profits they have, but they don't pay dividends, that keeps getting added. So what is it that you are trying to show with that? Fine, show that, but then you should show it clearly. Then you need to have it 2 breakup, right? Always. So equity share capital and other equity is basically your retained earnings.
Okay, so in that case, that means when we are calculating the ROE, so when we say the net income upon the total share equity, so we take 27 crores or we take this value.
No, you take this value because it basically means that the company had an equity of 27 crores. I explained this right earlier. Okay. This is for the last time I'm going to explain this. Next time somebody else will explain. So please pay attention. Okay. And this will be the end of the session also. Say a company started with this example only, 27 crores of equity. First year they made a profit of 100 crores. Is this clear to everyone?
Yes.
Out of this 100 crores, they only paid 10 crore as dividend. Rest 90 crore they retained. That is known as retained earnings, or whatever people use other words, but retained earnings is the simplest word. So the equity calculation for next year will be, say 27 को मैं 30 कर देता हूँ just for easy calculation. So it will be 30 crore plus 120 crore for the next year. So for example, the business started on 1st of January 2019. So first year the profit was 100 crores. So you will calculate it on 30 crores. So basically 100 divided by 30. So my ROE will be 333%. Clear? Questions?
The 30 crores is the expenses? I didn't get that. So you said 100 crores was the profit, 90 crores was retained or retained? No?
Yes. So 30 crores is the initial equity. This column A.
Investment, you are saying that, right?
They started with 30 crores. Now don't confuse with investment and all. 30 crores equity. Now we discussed another class, right? What is equity? So we'll stick to equity.
But Nishant, why 30 crores? Isn't it 27.3?
I'm just making it for easy calculation.
Okay.
Okay, so 30 crore is your equity as on 1st of January 2019. You did business for one whole year. You generated profits of 100 crores. So your ROE will be 100 divided by 30, which is 333%. Clear to everyone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So now After the year is ended, the company decided that out of that 100 crore profit, they will only distribute 10 crore to the shareholders. Rest 90 crore they will keep in the company for future growth, to buy some other company, whatever. I'm not getting into that. But they retained, just looking at numbers here, they retained 90 crore of that 100 crore. This 90 crore is known as retained earning. That will come in column B. Clear?
Yeah.
In 2020, I started with 30 plus 90, 120 crores. Clear?
Yes.
Now, in 2020, I made a profit of 100 crores. Clear?
Yes.
What will be my ROE?
So it will depend on the on
220,
next
right?
year's net profit, and then we'll have to see that what is the retained earnings for the next year. We'll have to add it to
Why
120.
so complicated? I gave all the numbers, na?
No, but for the next year, what is the net profit and what is the retained earnings? You didn't say that.
Next year का क्यों चाहिए? I told for 2020, right? My
Okay.
So
net
it's
profit for
already
2000.
100 by 220, right, Nishant?
100
Because
by?
the equity available was 220 and they made a profit of 100 crores.
No, not 220, right? 120. 30 plus
120,
90.
sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically 100 divided by 120, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
80 odd percent, 82% it will come to, 83%. Clear for everyone?
Yes.
Yes.
Any questions? This is the last time I'm explaining it. This is the 6th or 7th time I explained this concept.
So
So
if
the
I may
equity,
add,
yeah.
ROE is
Yeah.
only telling how efficiently they're using the capital at their dispense, right? So even the retained earnings is available for the company to spend the way they want, and they were only able to generate the same 100 crores of profit that they generated last year, even with an equity of 27. So the ROE is actually reduced. That means that the company did not perform very well with the money.
Exactly.
And
Exactly. And now, so don't get into the inferences, right? So there are many inferences to be drawn. So that is for another session, Vivek. This is where I think we sometimes digress and people get confused. Is the concept of, so the whole purpose of this 5-minute discussion was to understand what is equity and what is retained earning,
So
and how to
Nishant,
calculate ROE. Is this 3 concepts clear to everyone? It should be very, very crystal clear. This is the base of evaluating any company. The first theory, as to say.
yeah, here, so next year you said 100 crores is the net profit. So every year we take the net profit and then we divide it with the total this shareholders equity, which is the like 120, and then it keeps on adding for every year, and whatever is the net profit we divide it by this shareholders equity, and we get the ROC like ROE. Is it?
Yes, why are you making it so complicated? Simple.
No, I'm just trying to.
The formula for ROE is profit for the year divided by total shareholder equity.
Yeah, exactly.
The formula for total shareholder equity is equal to equity share capital plus retained earnings. So it could be that.
Do you mean that then this value ROE should be net income upon this value and not this value? It should be this value.
Sorry, which value?
The B value, other equity. Should it
No,
be
so
that?
ROE will be on the total, yeah. So ROE will be on that 8275 crores.
So that's
Always.
what I have taken. That is why I have taken that. If you come back to my table, I'll just show
Correct.
you.
Or ROE you have done correctly.
Yeah.
ROE
Okay.
you
So
have done
shareholder
correctly.
Okay, so this I have to put that it is cumulative. It is not just 1 year. It is cumulative. It is
No,
not.
not cumulative, Akash. The shareholder equity, the question who asked this, I think Vaibhav asked. His question was, why is it increasing? So that is why I wanted to see what you did for shareholder equity. So ideally what you should do is go up, go back to your Excel. You should have two rows. So you should have one for equity share capital. Go back to your Excel, यार. Excel. So just put दो रो डाल दो. एक है equity share capital, दूसरा है retained earnings, और फिर तीसरे रो में टोटल डाल दो.
Nishant, just a quick question after this, like.
Yeah, we are already 4 minutes over time. So yeah, I will take this as the last question. Yeah.
Okay.
Always
Can we
leave.
go?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let
PDF.
Akash finish one. So
Okay.
equity share capital, don't put it as other equity, put it as retained earnings. वो सब कोई अपना अपना word use करता है. Put it as retained earnings.
Okay.
And this will also have your share premium and all. Remember when we discussed, instead of 10 rupees par value, the share can be issued at 400. So that extra 390 will come in the other equity only. Okay. So if people are getting confused, then please go back and attend that session. And then your column 10 will be the sum of those two. So equity share capital plus return earning. So in column, in row 10, D10, row 10, column D, just mention total shareholder equity, which is always a sum of 8 plus 9.
Okay. I get it. I got it. So, but actually shareholder equity I had mentioned for calculating ROE. Okay. So my objective was to find ROE.
I understood now. Yeah, I understood now. But initially I didn't understand. Yeah, go ahead, Tushar. But yeah, I have to end the session. So sorry, you guys will continue.
If we can go to the PDF once, the same PDF that we had. Yeah, over here, like it says for 2019, the equity share capital was 27.30. So the retained earning was 8248.04. And in the next year, the equity share capital, which would be the same, almost 27.28, but the retained earning reduced. So it means that
not reduced, bhai, it is reverse. I think the data is ulta. So first is 2020, then 2019. Go up. Akash, just go a little up. Which year data is first?
This is 2020. This is 2020. This is March 2020 data.
And if you right side में कौन सा है?
This is 2019. This is 19.
Yeah, correct. So that is 2019 से 20. But हाँ उल्टा भी possible है तुषार. So it could be that 1 year I pay more dividend than profit. So say for example, go down. It is possible, right, that as a company I had a profit. So if I look at the numbers here, almost 1100 crores I have added in 1 year. So now maybe the profit was 1400 crores. I don't know. I'm just giving hypothetical number. We can do with actuals also. But the profit was say 1400 crores. But the company can give dividend of 3000 crores. वो पहले का पैसा बांट देगा.
Right. Okay.
Because if you go back to Akash data, it is clearly showing that additional equity, they are not able to generate same return. So first year, if you see on 2000 crores, they generated 57%. Next year on 4000 crores, they can only generate 40%. So it is consistently going down. So if I was the shareholder and a big shareholder, I would say, boss, you are reducing my return. Give me my money. I will utilize that money to invest somewhere else and get higher return.
Yeah.
But shareholders also don't shout because 29% is also quite high. So people are like, okay. But if it starts going down to 8-10%, people will start dancing on his head.
Yeah. Okay.
I think we will give tomorrow a better out. We already have prepared, but like we will tell you why this has happened, like why this downtrend was looking into.
This I can just explain just like that only. But yeah, anyways, yeah. Just by numbers only we can figure out a lot of things.
Yeah, but this was not the case. Okay, so till 2016 it was booming actually. From 2008 till 2016, if you look at the data, it was always booming. But last 5 years it is showing.
Because that 8 years was a lot of money floating around. Now it is again the India story, right? All the money floating around. This cannot happen. This can now happen if RBI makes 0% interest rate.
So okay, so maybe
print
we
like
can
the Fed. Print like the Fed. Anyways, I have to go. It is 4:40. It is quite interesting. So really wonderful job, guys, and really thank you for being the first ones, volunteering, being proactive. So really wonderful. The three of you, great job, and let's continue this. Please, any other team which will be ready for tomorrow?
Yeah, like I said in the chat, I think it will be Nishant and not Nishant. I'm saying Siddharth and me.
Okay.
I will probably start, and then I would probably have to leave, but I will be back for the recording. I can see the questions.
So you have less time tomorrow, right? So because these guys will continue, I don't want to break their flow. So maybe you guys can do it next week. So that's okay. So other than you, any other team? So how about your team?
Who will do next week? We guys, Siddharth and me.
Yes,
Okay,
because
okay,
you're
got it.
not available tomorrow, right? Whole day. You will
Yeah,
only be there.
I can come for the presentation. I can present my part, no problem. I mean,
Yeah, but how much time will you have? You have only so you if we start at the standard time, how much time will you be there for?
I'll be there for like 15 minutes or 20 minutes.
Yeah, but I think these guys will need at least half an hour to finish. So
Okay, okay.